Remember how lush this moss wall used to be? Well, it's looking a little different now. In this video, we're bringing it back to life. And in just 1 month, it bounced back beautifully. It's been about 14 days since we set up this terrarium. Let's take a look and see how it's doing. At the moment, the plants are struggling a bit, and the cushion moss is looking a bit dry. Let's give everything except the moss wall a light spray. We're still figuring out the right watering schedule for this terrarium, especially due to the moss. And for now, we're going to cover the air grid that we have on top to help keep the humidity up. After observing it for 2 weeks, we realized that cushion moss isn't ideal for this moss wall. You can already see how dry it's become. So we're removing it and placing it on the soil in the foreground where we think it will do much better. If we'll have excess cushion moss, we're going to be keeping it in this Tupperware. So what we think happened is the setup is causing too much heat and dryness. We have a Chihiro's A2 Max light, which sits very close above the terrarium. This is because there's little space between the shelves. It may be heating the top too much, especially in a tall terrarium like this, which is causing it to dry out. If you're using cushion moss, there's no need to cut it up or break it into smaller pieces like we did here. Cushion moss actually establishes better when you keep it in one whole piece. It holds moisture more evenly, keeps its natural shape, and adapts to the terrarium much faster. When we added the cushion moss to the moss wall, keeping it in one piece wasn't an option, so we had to divide it. So right here we're laying down a thin bed of sphagnum moss to help retain moisture, and on top of it we plan on adding the cushion moss. Now we're going to start placing the cushion moss on top of that little path that we created with the sphagnum moss. And honestly, right now we're just overcomplicating things. We separated the cushion moss to create more of a path shape, but I wouldn't recommend doing this because if you break it apart, it means it will take longer to recover. Now, if you did the same as us and you've moved the moss around or you broke it apart, if it starts to turn a little brownish, don't give up. Just keep an eye on it and water only when actually necessary. At the moment, we water the cushion moss once a week, and this schedule seems to work perfectly, but it depends a lot on your specific terrarium setup. After placing the moss in the foreground, we'll give it a good misting to help it settle and rehydrate. While we're at it, let's spray down the soil mix on the wall. This will help increase the humidity inside the terrarium. So this is what the moss looks like after rehydrating. It looks fine for now, but since we've moved it again, it will likely look a little worse before it recovers. The moss wall, or what is left of the moss wall, is looking a little bit barren right now, but we'll fix that in a little bit. And here we are, 16 days later. We stopped by our local fish shop, picked up some Christmas moss, and decided to add it to the soil mix wall. Let's see if this works better. We got the tissue culture Christmas moss from Tropica. Honestly, there's nothing better. The plants from Tropica always look amazing. This one still has the nutrient gel, which we'll need to rinse off in some lukewarm water. The gel actually comes off pretty easily, so we're just gently rinsing it away. And while we're at it, we're also removing these brownish bits from the moss. We've got a fresh bowl of lukewarm water for our second tissue culture of moss. We'll do the same thing here and gently rinse off the nutrient gel. Now we'll go ahead and cut the moss into smaller pieces, just so it's easier to push it into the soil mix on the wall. Before adding the moss, we want to water the soil mix really well. This makes it much easier to push the moss in and helps it stay in place. We really took our time adding the moss, but you really don't have to be precise. You can use bigger clumps, just make sure to push them in properly. We want to add Christmas moss to the driftwood, but first we're placing a layer of sphagnum moss underneath to help keep the humidity up. Perfect, now we'll add the Christmas moss on top of the sphagnum layer. And right here in the back, behind the Phytonias, we're gonna add another layer of sphagnum. Think of it like a little humidity sponge. It stays wet and it helps keep the humidity up. Let's call this the intermediary result. It looks rough right now, but the way this moss recovered in just around a month really surprised us. The cushion moss actually bounced back unbelievably well. We realized it only needed to be sprayed about once a week. So this isn't one of those fully self-sustaining terrariums. It does need a little bit of attention, but honestly, we really enjoy watering it and checking in on it. The Christmas moss on the moss wall is also growing in beautifully, super green and lush, and this one we're watering every 2 days. Taking care of it is also surprisingly relaxing, so if you enjoy the kind of calm, hands-on maintenance, a terrarium like this might be perfect for you. We hope you enjoyed this little project. We'll keep sharing updates as it evolves. We're definitely keeping this one around because we love how it looks. If you have any questions or suggestions, drop them in the comments, and if you enjoy projects like these, feel free to subscribe. We've got more coming.